behind the screens. This video is for informational purposes only. Neither Baker nor Hauntcast are responsible if you ingest epoxy putty or hot glue your hand to your junk. Please haunt responsibly. Well, it's time to break out the first aid kit and ibuprofen as we prepare for another epic build for our favorite holiday. Arbor Day? Well, I mean, this is a plant project, but no doofus, Halloween. Let's kick things off with our supply list. We'll need a bucket of foam clay, freeform air or epoxy putty, 9-gauge fence wire, styrofoam, airbrush paints or craft paints and brushes, permablood, super glue, baking soda, faux plant leaves, a planter, expanding foam, the large crack and gap variety, a small piece of flashing, and duct tape. We'll also need some tools. We'll need wire cutters, a hot glue gun, tin snips, a hot knife, a rasp, and an airbrush gun and compressor. I shouldn't need to mention this, but if you're using craft paints, the airbrush and compressor are not necessary. Ah, damn it, the boss is back, so we better get to work. As I've been haunting for years, I always have scrap styrofoam around. So glue some 6-inch by 8-inch pieces together. I use the Great Stuff window foam, the blue can for adhesive. Use whatever you like. With a hot knife, cut out the rough shape, shaving off all unnecessary pieces of foam. Cut a slit down the middle for the mouth. I'm using Audrey 2 from the Little Shop of Horrors as my muse. Use a rasp or a file to continue to shave down the shape to get it to the desired look. Next, bust out your foam clay. We'll make the teeth first as the foam needs at least 24 hours to cure. Roll up some clay in your palm to make a little snake. Then pinch off some 1-inch pieces and continue to roll those and shape them into teeth. We'll trim down some of these to make 3/4 and 1/2-inch teeth. Now to cover the entire foam surface with a 1/4 inch of foam clay. Keep some water handy and dip your fingers in often. It really helps you to smooth out the clay. I actually made some of the teeth more than 1 inch, but just use a straight edge razor to trim them down, making a variety of different sizes. To make the lips, we're going to grab a chunk of foam clay, roll it up in our palm just like a snake, as we did with the teeth, and we'll apply it around the mouth area. Using a lot of H2O on your hands, continue to smooth the foam down until you get a nice consistent surface around the outer edge and also smooth out the inner mouth. But the mouth you don't want to smooth out too much. Now we can start applying the teeth, using the larger teeth in the middle of the mouth and using smaller teeth as you move towards the corners. The dry foam clay will attach easily to the wet foam clay, and if you are trying to apply 2 dry pieces of foam clay together, just add a little bit of water. If you're so inclined for that added little bit of detail, you can kind of pull and string out like a stretchy piece of foam clay and add it to the top of the head to give it that kind of veiny look. For the other 2 heads, rinse and repeat. It's intermission time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, to share a link to this video or channel on social media to help spread the word and to grow the channel. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program. If the surface is not smooth enough, use a piece of 220 or 320 grit sandpaper and just continue to sand and smooth down the surface. I cut 2-inch PVC into 2-inch sections to use as a stand to plasti dip coat the foam clay. As I found out, foam clay will disintegrate in water, and as I'm going to have these out in my yard for the entire month of October, this is extremely necessary. I'm giving it 3 coats of black and then 3 coats of white plasti dip just to ensure the entire surface is completely covered. I cut a 6-inch piece of 1/2-inch PVC pipe that I glued to a 6-inch diameter 1/4-inch piece of PVC board to use as a base for the 9-gauge wire to install inside the planter. I could have skipped this step, but I was having problems gluing the individual piece of PVC pipe into the bottom of the planter. It just wasn't sticking properly. I sprayed some Great Stuff glue into the bottom of the planter, then inserted the PVC base. Cut 3 sections of 9-gauge fence wire. I used 4 foot, 3 feet, 4 inches, and 3 foot pieces for the stem. Duct tape the 3 pieces together up to the 20-inch mark. Insert the taped end of the wires into the PVC pipe. Using pliers, bend the top part of the wires into the desired positions. Spray some expanding foam around the pipe base. Add some rocks, or I added bags of dirt to weight down the base so it won't fall over, and then add more foam to cover the bags. I sprinkled some dirt on the foam before it cured. Add some more duct tape around the wires if there's too much wiggle room. You want it to fit snugly. After this, you probably will have to rebend the wires back into the proper position. To ensure that the plant heads don't swivel around freely on the wire, we're going to cut some small pieces of flashing, 1 inch by 2 inch, using the super glue and baking soda technique to weld them together. If you've never seen this technique, you're welcome. Just add some super glue to the wire and flashing, apply the wire to the flashing, sprinkle on some baking soda, pack it down, add some more super glue, add some more baking soda, pack it down, add a little bit more super glue, a little bit more baking soda, and this is almost as good as a spot weld. Using a hot knife, we're going to make an incision in the back of the head so we can insert that wire. Repeat the process for the other 2 heads. Reposition the stems if necessary. If not, let's move on to the next step. I used aluminum foil to thicken up the stems, making it thicker down towards the base and making it thinner as it gets towards the head. To build out the stem, I used Smooth-On's Freeform Air, but you can also use epoxy putty, which is similar. It's a 1-to-1 mixture. Knead part A with part B, just like you would dough, as if you would make your own bread, right? It will be a light gray color when complete. Rip off a chunk and flatten it down. You don't need more than about 1/4 inch to apply around the aluminum. Keep a spray bottle of water handy, as this will help smooth down the freeform air as you continue to apply it. I do recommend using nitrile or latex gloves when using the freeform air. I'm sure epoxy putty's the same. If you don't, the chemicals that are in the putty will give your palms and fingers almost a tingling or numbing sensation for hours after use. But your results may vary. To prepare the faux leaves for install, you want to remove about 1.5 to 2 inches of the plastic at the base of the stem, as we need to expose the wire. I just happen to have a Dremel with a grinding bit handy, but after doing this on 1 or 2, I switched over to just using a razor to shave off the plastic, and I would recommend going that route. Size up a drill bit and make sure it's just slightly larger than the thickness of the wire, or wires in this case. Drill holes into the freeform air or epoxy putty and insert the faux leaves. I recommend squeezing some hot glue into the hole before inserting so it will stay put. It's now time to add some color and airbrush on some paint. And yes, you can use craft paint and brushes, you big baby. I'm using opaque light green paint from Createx. I'm using a darker green color for the details. I'm painting the mouth with pink and the lips with some pink and then some flesh tones. For the teeth, I'm just going to use an off-white acrylic craft paint. I used a brown acrylic paint to cover up the great stuff. To give it a wet, glossy finish, I used Fright Props wet product. I did contact Fright Props, and they informed me that wet is not waterproof or water resistant as it is water-based. So I'm going to coat it again with Fusion Glossy Clear Finish, as this will be out in my yard for at least a month. If I was using it only indoors, the wet product would be enough. And now for the last looks. Using Permablood on the mouth, lips, and teeth. This product does take over 5 days to cure, so keep it indoors till then, or the blood will turn a very dark red or just wash off in rain. So I would even be safe and give it a full week indoors to cure. And there you have it, my Predatory plant. I will be touching up the leaves with a light green used for the stem before unleashing into the wild. If you have to build this prop on the change you scrounged in your couch cushions, I'm sure you could substitute out some of the materials. So, have at it.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss any haunt content that is dead ahead.